Goonland Productions presents the Omega Cast with your host, J.P. Whitman.
Hello, and welcome to the Omega Cast, episode 14, New Canada Pro Wrestling. John and I have just sat down, avoided social media all morning and all day, did not take calls or messages, and sat down and watched Dominion 6.9? Yes, 6.9. And to start this show, I am going to give you a quote from the Hurricane Shane Helms Twitter. He said, New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion was a prime example of pro wrestlers understanding who they are and what pro wrestling is better than any writer ever could. Sometimes you just gotta let the artists be artists. And John, what did I say the whole time that Omega and Okada was on?
You kept referring to them as artists, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Omega and Okada, it was a trilogy. Now, there's no word for a group of four. I guess. I guess we'll have to refer to it as a saga now. But the Okada and Omega saga, I believe, has come to a definitive end with the final victory of Kenny Omega over the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. Kenny Omega has finally captured the IWGP World Heavyweight title, and New Japan is about to enter a new era.
And when the show started, we got to realize that new era as President May, who was born in Holland, went to Japan, left Japan to get educated in the UK, has been all over the world, who loves pro wrestling. He said he is going to do his best job at making New Japan Pro Wrestling a more worldwide sports entertainment amalgamation, I guess. I'm kind of at a loss for words because the show for us literally just ended. Yeah. We're gonna break this show down match by match.
Yeah.
So go ahead, John, with the first one.
All right. So match number one was a tag team match. The first, I believe, 3 or 4 matches were tag team, but they were all pretty good. We kicked it off with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Suzuki Gun, which in this match was composed of El Desperado, and I did not catch his tag team partner's name.
Yoshino Kanemaru.
Yoshino Kanemaru.
Just call him Kanemaru.
Yeah, Kanemaru. And they defeated the team of Roppongi 3K, which, of course, is made up of Sho and Yo. So the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships stay with Suzuki Gun. And Roppongi 3K had a very good showing, but ultimately fell to the dastardly ways of El Desperado when El Desperado pinned Sho.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It was a great opener. It was unexpected that Desperado and Kanemaru would win after Sho and Yo had such profound matches in the Best of Super Junior tournament. The second match, we got the flamboyant Juice Robinson and David Finlay against the U.S. title holder Jay White and Yoshihashi. This match was a solid second match. It ended with Juice Robinson not David Finlay. Juice Robinson hitting the pump fiction, which is a kill switch, to Jay White. He picked up the U.S. title, ran around the ring with it, and threw it on the prone Jay White's body. David Finlay says he's happy because even though he couldn't beat his rival Jay White, his best friend possibly could. So that's something to look forward to in the future. John, what was match 3?
So in the third match, we have another showing from Suzuki Gun, this time made up of Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki, where they went up against Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano. And this match ended with Zack Sabre Jr. Tapping out Toru Yano.
Yes, and it was fantastic because Yano tried, he has 3 things in his book. He goes to the ropes, he does a schoolboy, and he tries to take, he does the low blow, and he tries to take off the ring post thing, the padding. Well, he got the padding off, and then he went for a low blow on Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. caught it with his ankles, turned it into the orienteering with Napalm Death, and then after the match, he threw the turnbuckle pad right on him, and I loved every second of it. This after the match, Ishii and Suzuki just brawled and brawled and brawled and brawled all the way to the back. Suzuki ended up throwing stuff, and it was just fantastic. It was as per usual Suzuki after match stuff. So number 4.
Number 4 was a triple threat match for the Never Openweight Championship, where Hiroki Goto defended against Tai Chi and Unbreakable Michael Elgin.
This match was pretty awesome. Tai Chi, John and I both agreed, is an anime villain. Michael Elgin dropped like 40 pounds or something.
Yeah. And
he looks like Billy Graham now. He's a beast. This match was awesome. Michael Elgin won, eventually pinning Tai Chi, I think. Yeah. But he held the title up
he pinned Goto.
He pinned Goto. He held the title up to Goto, and Goto nodded in a sign of respect. Another great match. There was a point in the match where Elgin had Goto in an electric chair and then crossed his arms and did like a bridging electric chair drop pin, and I thought that was pretty awesome. They had a spot there where they were doing the Tower of Doom, and it changed up a few times. But
where Michael Elgin, and in the Tower of Doom spot, fucking Michael Elgin literally like sunset flipped, power bombed Hiroki Goto, and it like slingshotted Tai Chi into the mat. It was insanity. And that Tai Chi, he literally is an anime villain. He comes down to the ring singing into a microphone, and he's got like this big jacket, and it's all like ornate with like gold plate stuff, and he's got like this Phantom of the Opera looking mask on. It's the guy. I like Tai Chi. I like what he's bringing to the shows here. Now, match number 4 was for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. It was Evil and Sonata defending the titles against the Young Bucks.
Yeah, this match really showed the power of Evil, the athleticism of Sonata, and but it was not enough to break a brother's bond. There was a point where Matt Jackson had Evil in a sharpshooter, and Sonata had Matt Jackson in the skull end, and then Nick came off the rope with a drop kick. There was in the early stages of the match, Nick Jackson's foot got injured because Evil was messing with it on the outside in the guardrail, and it was just Well, like a lot of people who don't watch a lot of Young Bucks matches complain that there are spot monkeys and stuff like that. But yeah, they have spot sequences, but their psychology is great. I really enjoyed this match, and yeah, that's all I have to say about that. The brothers, the most decorated junior tag team in IWGP history, New Japan history, are now validated as a heavyweight team with those IWGP heavyweight tag team titles.
Yeah, now we are speeding through these first couple matches here because the bulk of this episode is going to be like the last 3 matches because they're all worth watching if you've never, even if you've never watched wrestling. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Match number 6 out of 8 was a special 6-man tag team match where it was the Bullet Club in this match composed of Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, and the villain Marty Scurll against the team of Jushin Thunder Liger, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Rey Mysterio Jr. This match ended when Cody pinned Jushin Thunder Liger, but the whole match was insanity top to bottom. Rey Mysterio's mask was actually really cool. He had the New Japan lion from the New Japan logo was what made up the facial part of his mask, and it was really cool. Cody, Hangman, and Scurll have amazing chemistry as a tag team, which they should, being that they're all in a faction together. But this is the first time that I've really seen, that I personally have seen Hangman Adam Page really as part of the Bullet Club in a match. He doesn't seem to really wrestle that often, but Hangman Page.
Hangman.
I almost never see him. I don't know.
He had a fantastic match against Jay White in
okay.
America.
All right.
He shows up a lot in Ring of Honor, more so than New Japan.
Okay. See, I don't watch much of Ring of Honor.
Yeah. This match, I thought it was really cool that the Legends side were all color coordinated. That they were all wearing New Japan colors, and like you said, Rey Mysterio's mask was sweet. The beginning of this match was a lot of tagging in and out from the Bullet Club and just playing mind games with the Legends. But once things started rolling, it really rolled. We got a lot of cool stuff from Rey Mysterio, and the commentary team said that they don't think that this will be the last they see of Rey Mysterio. I hope that's true, because I'm going to be honest, ever since he's wearing tights like he used to in WCW, and I loved him in WCW. He was all right to me in WWE, but this whole second wind of his career is just fantastic, and I hope he stays as a freelance wrestler, showing up anywhere he wants, kind of like someone else on this show, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So the next match, John.
So the next match, of course, was for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, where we saw the winner of Best of the Super Juniors 25, which is also 100% worth watching if you haven't. It was Hiromu Takahashi against the champion Will Ospreay. And Hiromu Takahashi actually defeated Will Ospreay and became the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. This was our third new champion of the night, with Elgin winning the Never Openweight Championship and the Young Bucks winning the Heavyweight Tag Championships. But this was an insane match. It was probably my favorite Will Ospreay match in recent memory, followed closely by the Fatal 4-Way from Wrestle Kingdom.
And the match the match of Sakura Genesis against Squirrel.
Absolutely. But I'll let JP give you the details on this one.
Okay, so this match started off hot. They both came out the gate just red hot, like they came out of cannons. We go to the outside. Ospreay takes Hiromu up the ramp. It doesn't turn in his favor. Hiromu ends up falling off the ramp, and we see Ospreay go all the way to the top of the ramp, run down, and just flip off the ramp onto Takahashi. On the outside, early on in this match, Ospreay ended up taking off the mats and exposing the concrete, which would later come back to bite him in the rear end, or should I say neck. This match was awesome. We got a lot of the new move, the D as he's calling it, Hiromu Takahashi's triangle choke. At one point, Ospreay broke it up with was it a buckle bomb?
Yeah.
And then he did like a twisting inverted power bomb, and then on the third attempt, Takahashi wasn't having it. He flipped out of the bomb and hit Ospreay with a butterfly pile driver, which led to a Death Valley driver into the turnbuckle, which then led to the time bomb and a win for Hiromu Takahashi. Ospreay had some awesome moves in here. He, as you've come to expect, he did like the Cesaro from the outside of the apron to the inside superplex, followed by a burning star. If you don't know what a burning star is, it's whenever he drapes his opponent over the top rope and hits a shooting star press onto their back. At another point, he tried to hit a red arrow as we know it, but it's a corkscrew shooting star press, but he did not hit it. But this match was fantastic.
No, he hit it, but it didn't warrant him a pinfall.
I don't think he hit it, though.
He didn't?
I think Takahashi moved.
Huh.
Well, either way, we just came off of watching the show. We might have some information about moves incorrectly. We apologize for that. And frankly, I don't care because my brain was melted. I was screaming. I was jumping. This show, I know it's early to say this in our show, but this show has been the best pro wrestling show I've watched in 2018 so far. John, next one.
So now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. The final two matches were the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, Tetsuya Naito defending against Chris Jericho, and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, the 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit match between Okada and Omega, the final match in the saga. And we're going to go into the Jericho and Naito match right now.
So, before we get into that, I failed to mention that whenever the Bucks won the title, they said that they were so happy they felt like doing something nice, and they asked Don Callis what he was doing on September 1st. He said nothing. He said, and they said that you will be the commentator for All In. Anyway, so back to Jericho versus Naito.
Wow.
Jericho came out looking kind of like a, what were they called in that movie, dandies?
Well, he was dressed as Malcolm McDowell from Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, but wasn't the gang called the Dandies or something? I don't know either. But he had like this real Clockwork Orange thing going on. He came out first. Naito comes out in his suit. Before anything can happen, Jericho's on the attack. Just brutal stuff. He's swearing, he's yelling. He took the camera again and gave it the middle finger. He DDT'd him on a table that didn't break. There was another
through another table.
Yeah, it was just insane, and it was all Jericho for a while, and then a bloodied Naito who was bleeding from his eye, underneath his eye, but it was in his eye. It was sick. He he started getting the upper hand, and he hit a Destino. Jericho hit a Lion Salt. He had the Walls of Jericho a couple of times, especially whenever Naito went for a Hurricane Run off the top, and he caught him, and he got into the Walls of Jericho. And they kept mentioning how Jericho had set the record in WWE as a 9-time Intercontinental Champion. And, you know, we wrestling fans have come to expect Jericho to put over talent. He goes to the WWE periodically. He'll have a feud. He'll win a match or two, but ultimately lose and put somebody over. He put over Kenny at Wrestle Kingdom 12. But this match came to an end when Jericho pushed the ref out of the way and mule kicked Naito in the crotchal region, and then what did he do? Hit a code breaker? Yeah, he hit a code breaker for the win, and Chris Jericho walks out of Osaka as the Intercontinental IWGP Champion. Winnipeg versus Japan in these last two matches. And so far, as I'm giving it to you, Winnipeg wins 1-0.
I am going to say emphatically something that I have said many times, something that Jericho has said many times, but something that I think we can now confirm wholeheartedly, that Chris Jericho is hands down the greatest of all time. He is the best wrestler in the world. He is the best in the world at what he does. Do you understand what I am saying to you right now?
You're damn right. I know. I understand it, because Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time, and this is just mind blowing. I mean, you could ask John if you know who he is, or if you actually contact us on Instagram or anything like that. I was pacing behind the couch, screaming, "Fuck yes," multiple times. So that leads us to the main event. The 2 out of 3 falls. No time limit. The 2 best wrestlers. The 2 best artists in a ring. I'm sorry, AJ Styles, but you're number 3. I'm sorry, Seth Rollins. I'm sorry, Finn Balor. But Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada are the top 2 wrestlers in the world. And if you don't believe me, watch any of their 4 matches. If you watch this match, make sure you have some coffee, or if you're prone to being hyper, maybe take a melatonin, because I was losing my mind. There were points where I had to leave the room. John, you got to take over this for a second.
Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega, as JP said, are the top 2 wrestlers in the world. Now, this isn't... I don't think this can count as a matter of opinion anymore, because they are... Because it's something that every time they have a match, the entire internet breaks. Like, they just... Like, Kenny Omega is so good at what he does, and Okada is such an amazing wrestler. Everything he does looks beautiful. Like, he has such grace in the ring, where Kenny just goes hard, and he goes fast, and he's going to hit you with about 20,000 knee strikes, and they're all going to hurt like a bitch, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. But Okada goes... I think Okada is definitely a much more traditional wrestler than Omega, but it's not like better. It's just different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got a lot of V triggers. We got one-winged angels. We got rainmakers. We got tombstones. We got drop kicks like nobody's business. We got tombstones on the apron. We got table work. We got Kazuchika Okada won the first bout with a roll-up type of counter. Yeah, it was a counter roll-up pin. Omega won the second bout with what did he win with?
It was a one-winged angel.
A one-winged angel. We saw in the third bout, which was pretty awesome, a Styles clash from Omega to Okada. These two guys just put their whole lives on the line. It was just like, I can't give you move by move. I can't tell you everything, but I could tell you that as a wrestling fan of my entire life, I don't think I've ever seen two wrestlers put so much of who they are and what they believe in into one match. And Okada has had a great reign, probably the greatest reign in New Japan history.
Yeah, I think it's the longest for sure.
Well, total combined days, but he's definitely had the most defenses. But it was nice to see Kenny finally get that title, and he was surrounded by Kota Ibushi at the end, and the Bucks came out. Matt looked like he was going to cry. They embraced.
Yeah, and Kota Ibushi even joined. Yeah, and after the match, the Young Bucks come down, and anybody that listens or pays attention to what's going on in New Japan knows that the friendship between Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks has been stretched paper thin as a result of all the shit that Cody Rhodes has put Kenny Omega through.
No, swing it on back to me, buddy. So we get all four of them hugging. We get them hoisting up Kenny, and then we see Cody Rhodes come out, walk halfway down the ramp, decide not to do anything, and walk back. And Don Callis was losing his mind, saying he's a piece of garbage. He can't let anybody have their own moment. Yeah. And this, as happy as I am about what happened today, the G1 Climax is coming up. Who wins? Could it be Cody?
Well, Cody said that he's not in it.
Oh, Cody's not in it?
Yeah. Could
be Kota Ibushi, could be Okada. And we get a fifth match at Wrestle Kingdom. Who knows? I'm just like you said, John, what did you say? You said you think something's going to happen.
Oh. So, with what happened after the Okada and Omega bout, where we saw the Young Bucks come down and bury the hatchet with Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi bury the hatchet with the Young Bucks, and the full four-man embrace in the middle of the ring. Their tears of joy were flowing. I think that the Elite is going to come back in full force as a four-man faction with the inclusion of Kota Ibushi.
Yes. There's going to be a split in the Bullet Club. There's going to be Bullet Club, and there's going to be the Elite. And we'll see where the chips fall. It's definitely going to play a part in All In, I believe, because Okada and Omega are supposed to be there. The Bucks are supposed to be there. Paige, Skrull, Cody, who's obviously going for the NWA title. And that's after ROH Best in the World, which is Cody versus Dalton versus Marty. We'll see how that pans out, because if he ends up pinning Marty, then maybe we don't get a split and the Bullet Club all just sides with Kenny. But I'm telling you, at this moment in time, on June 9th, 2018, Dominion was the best show pro wrestling has had to offer this year. I don't know if it will be topped this year. I don't know how you can top it. I know that some people can't fathom sitting through a match like Omega and Okada because of the length, but you just got to do it. You got to will yourself to do it because you're missing out.
It simply didn't feel like an hour at best. It didn't at all.
Right. And because we were so invested. I mean, like, we were pounding stuff. It was just insane. And like right now, New Japan Pro Wrestling and a couple of other promotions have my interest more so than WWE. I hope that changes when Money in the Bank hits and the UK tournament hits. But as a wrestling fan, I don't think there's any better wrestling on the planet right now other than New Japan. That's really all I have to say, man. Like, I'm surprised I have this much to talk about,
Right, so
like to say.
So we've only gone a half hour here. So I think what we need to do now is look at these new champions. Look at Jericho, look at Omega, and just try to Elgin
And the Bucks.
and the Bucks. And so the Bucks are the heavyweight tag team champions.
Ooh. We forgot something.
Hold on. The Bucks are the heavyweight tag team champions, and Omega is the heavyweight champion.
The Elite.
The Elite. So,
Elite.
where do you go from here? Do we get Okada going for the Intercontinental title against Jericho?
No. I think after the Intercontinental title match, Jericho wasn't happy with just winning the title. He brutalized Tetsuya Naito again, took off his own belt, not the title belt, and he was whipping Naito. And Evil, out of all of the other members, Evil was the one who came out and saved Naito. Jericho got on Callis's headset and said, "Yeah, Naito, you see that, Naito? That's And he's like, "And whoever the hell you are," he didn't even know who Evil was. So it's kind of planting seeds for either a LAJ member, especially Evil, to go after that title or a rematch with Naito. Personally, I would love to see Jericho and Sonata.
Right.
But it doesn't look that way right now. With the Young Bucks and the heavyweight titles, I would like to see them wrestle the Guerrillas of Destiny. I think that would be an interesting feud, especially with all this Bullet Club,
The drama.
yeah, this tumultuous relationship they all have. But we also have to remember that not only are the Young Bucks the heavyweight tag team champions in New Japan, they are the never openweight 3 trios champions, or whatever they call it, with Marty Scurll. So, if at best in the world Cody pins Scurll, then Skrull's has every reason to be on the Bucks side because he's holding titles with them. Jericho, I would love. This might be scrapping the whole idea of LIJ still feuding with Jericho. I think after the loss to Takahashi, I could see Will Ospreay moving up into a heavyweight position and possibly going for Jericho's IWGP title. My bad. I didn't mean Hiromu's loss. I meant Ospreay's loss to Hiromu. I could see Ospreay going up to heavyweight status and going for that Intercontinental title or the U.S. title or something like that and having a Wrestle Kingdom match against Kota Ibushi. Now, Will Ospreay versus Kota Ibushi on paper looks amazing. They've only been in a ring together 3 times. They were all tag matches. Once at the WWN Super Show a few years ago. It was, I believe, Johnny Gargano was involved, Tommy End, who's Aleister Black, Coda, Will, and I forget who else. And then they had a match in Rev Pro, and then recently, during the best, recently they had a match where it was Ibushi and, this was in the Best of Super Juniors. I believe the final day or something. I don't remember. It was recent. It was Chase Owens and Kota Ibushi against Ospreay and Okada. So I'd love to see Ibushi versus Ospreay. Also, with that G1 Climax coming up, I see either Okada or Ibushi winning, and it'd be really interesting to see Ibushi win and go up against Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 13. I mean, they could go anywhere with any of these guys and have it be phenomenal because they don't put chains on their wrestlers, and it always comes out looking great. As for the Michael Elgin being the never openweight champion, I think Goto may get a rematch. If they don't do that, this whole Ishii versus Suzuki, maybe the winner of that feud goes on to wrestle Elgin because Ishii has held the never openweight title a lot. I believe Suzuki has held it as well. It'd be a nice solidifying for Elgin in Japan if he could beat either one of those guys in a title match. What do you think, John?
Well, I think that you just blew my mind with the very idea of Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho. But, yeah, man, I honestly think that we're going to get, we're definitely getting this feud between Ishii and Suzuki. It's not over, and it's going to be a one-on-one feud, and it's going to be hard-hitting the whole time.
No.
And seeing the winner of that go for the Never Openweight Championship, I think would be very cool.
Now, we know that Suzuki and his protege, Zack Sabre Jr., hold the RPW British Heavyweight Tag titles. Yeah. Ishii holds the Rev Pro British Heavyweight title. So the whole concept of the Never Openweight for Elgin, they could not even be in that. They could just do a Rev Pro title match. And I wanted to say for the listeners and even for John, the reason why this episode is being so short is because I'm talking really fast.
Yeah.
And I'm talking really fast because I'm so damn excited. This show has had me up and down, up and down. I mean, it's amazing to be a fan.
Yeah.
And as a 30-year-old who thinks you think you've seen it all when you're a wrestling fan.
Right.
And then when you haven't, and you're invested in people, it just takes you out of what you think you know, and when you get invested in these matches, like John and I were today, it just ignites.
It makes it fun.
Yeah, it makes it fun again, man.
Yeah.
I felt like a kid. I felt like a kid screaming and slamming shit. I don't do that when I watch Raw. I don't do that, you know. So, New Japan, you're doing it right. And I hope President May comes through with everything. Obviously, this show shows that they're going to go in a different direction. Anything else you got, John?
Well, I feel like we do need to cap this episode off with something. And we were planning on talking about Best of the Super Juniors today, as well as Dominion, but then fucking Jericho won and Omega won, and that all went out the window. But we do have prepared a top 10 matches from Best of the Super Juniors, and I think that would be a proper way to end this episode and then move into the other promotions next week because, of course, next week, this is Saturday the 9th, 1 week from today, we've got TakeOver Chicago coming up. We've got Money in the Bank coming up. We've got WWE's UK tournament coming up in a couple weeks. It was breaking news yesterday.
Lucha Underground's coming
Yeah,
back.
Lucha Underground's coming back this Wednesday. It was breaking news yesterday that Adam Cole is defending the NXT North American Championship at Evolve 107.
Yes.
This is amazing shit.
My idea of when we did the table for four and we talked about World Wrestling Network and WWE being partners and how we may see more of that. We saw them wrestle at Access, and now it looks like our whole thing was for the takeover. When we did the takeover thing, the first time Goonland came together, I said, if it's going to be a regional belt, then they're going to put it on Ricochet, and if it's not, they're going to put it on Adam Cole or EC3. But it looks like I was wrong, and they actually are going to have him defend it outside of WWE, just like Pete Dunne has defended his UK title outside of the WWE. Also news this week, British legend Johnny Saint is the general manager of the UK division of WWE, which is pretty awesome. I feel like almost every week we get more news from WWE, but less content to actually talk about, which will change by next week. Next week's going to be a lot of, what do we think about the build-up of Money in the Bank and TakeOver and who's going to win. So
We're definitely doing TakeOver predictions.
So all you listeners out there who've been chomping at the bit for us to talk about the mainstream WWE programming, you're going to get your fix next week, along with a review of Lucha Underground Season 4 premiere. Yeah. So the top Omega Cast top 10 matches of the Best of the Super Juniors 25. And these are in no particular order, but of course the final was number 1, which was Hiromu Takahashi versus Taiji Ishimori. From day one, we have Will Ospreay versus Taiji Ishimori, and the only reason why Ishimori won, Ospreay and Ishimori were tied. But since Ishimori had a pinfall over Ospreay, he won that block. Hiromu Takahashi versus Desperado on day 4. If you're a wrestling fan, you already know about that. Hiromu Takahashi versus Dragon Lee on day 6. Yo versus Ospreay on day 5. Sho versus Dragon Lee on day 2. Kushida versus Sho on day 8. Flip Gordon versus Ospreay on day 13. And Yo versus Ishimori on day 13. And Hiromu Takahashi versus Kushida on day 13. Those are our top matches from this year's Best of the Super Juniors. You'll hear there's a lot of names that were repeated. Ospreay, Sho, Yo, Takahashi, Taiji Ishimori. These guys had standout matches all throughout. Flip Gordon really won me over. He is elegance personified in the air, man. Like, that guy is fantastic. Anytime he hits an aerial move, it's just like he has wings. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy. Tiger Mask started really strong, which was odd because no one expected it, and it was cool to see. Throughout the Best of Super Juniors, the Suzuki Gun, Desperado, and Konamaru did a lot of the same stuff. Underhanded tactics, spitting the whiskey in faces, going to the outside, stuff like that. But these 10 matches really are the standouts of the Best of Super Juniors. Like I said, next week we're going to get into the build-ups to Money in the Bank and TakeOver. We're going to talk predictions, and we're going to review Lucha Underground. Before we go, I also want to tell anyone out there, watch this last week's Impact. It was a really good show. Impact's putting on great shows. MLW is putting on great shows right now. I believe the one on Friday was the New York episode where they brought everyone out? Because I saw a lot of social media stuff on Friday or Thursday or whenever they recorded it. And yeah, so John, any last words where they can find you on social media?
Well, before I get into that, I do, for Best of the Super Juniors, I want to give honorable mention to one that you didn't mention, but that I thought was a very good match. From day 2, this can be number 11. I don't care, but it deserves to be on the list. Hiromu Takahashi versus Marty Scurll was an awesome match. It was really cool stuff. But moving on from that, New Japan Pro Wrestling is going in a new direction. Kenny Omega finally is the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Chris Jericho is the freaking Intercontinental Champion in Japan. It's not something I thought I would ever say.
Oh, man. Also, when we were talking about the news of this week, Sami Callihan said that he was going to invade Jericho's cruise, and Callis said, "This is the only time I agree with Callihan. Why hasn't Impact been invited?" Jericho said, "You are invited. Buy your tickets here." So then Callihan said some stuff, and I'm guessing Impact's going to be on that boat as well. And I think Callahan already has a shirt that has like the Callahan Cruise, and it's like I don't know, but it's awesome. Like, wrestling in 2018 is even better than 2017. These past few years have been a treat to be a fan in, and it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. As we are winding down on this super quick episode of the Omega Cast, but it had to be quick because we had to get these thoughts out into the air before we forgot them. So, find me on Twitter at jkerns91. Find me on Instagram, also at jkerns91. JP, where are they finding you?
You can find me at the JP Whitman on Twitter and JP Whitman on Instagram. I want to thank anyone who is a new listener, and to all the listeners who usually turn in on Saturdays to hear what John and I have to say about the world of pro wrestling. No matter where you are in the world, whether it is morning, afternoon, or night, I wish you a good one, and peace and love to all of you. See you next week.